So we go to Firebase. All right. They change a lot of things with all the AI stuff. Okay, so I haven't used the latest version, but they also have Firebase for Flutter setup. Okay, you probably just need to follow this one. Install a lot of different things, install the command line and everything. First of all, let me just create a new Flutter project. Okay, so this one I'll call it Flutter AI Dev. All right, I click on continue and all of this. Just enable analysis. They want to find a account. I think you might need a paid account. Yeah, I don't. Then in that case, I will just skip this one. Okay, so they're gonna create a project. Um, Once you open Firebase, you can see they provide a lot of different services. Okay, so the most important one we're gonna use is for their database. Okay, and then we're gonna continue. All right, so as I mentioned, if you go left, build, there's something called Firestore database. Okay, that's the basic most important item. Okay, and then they add a lot of other features, the Gemini stuff. Database is, you can consider that as a giant like hash table that you can store different things. Okay, I'm gonna create a new database. There's standard one. I'll just go with that one. And then the ID is default location. That's where you say you choose the data center. I just go with a default one. And then I'll start with the test mode, so that way it's easier to try it without using all the permission stuff. So it's public, read and write. Okay, and then we're just gonna create that database. So once the database is created, this is the database. It's a very typical like NoSQL database. You can start a collection. For example, I can say I want to store students, and then every item is stored as something called a document. So for example, I give ID, and the field there's the name, and there's some other field called a major, and computer science, and I will save that. So then you create a collection to store all the student information. The first one is something called student 001. This is the information. All right, and then you have another student 002, and name, and then major, something like this, and then you can just do a lot of things. Okay, so that's just how the database will look like. All right, and yeah, so once we have this, actually, why don't we start to build our food database? We have our food list. All right, the first one we'll give an ID of we'll do food 01. Okay, name, which is Subway. Price, the type should be a number. So this is 8.99. All right, so I'm gonna do another one. Go with 02, name, Starbucks, and then the price is 4.99. Just do one more. Pizza. Okay, so same kind of information as we did here, but now the data are all stored in the cloud, safer. The good thing is that you can always go here to update it. All right, so now what we need to do is to let the app to be able to talk to that database, talk to the backend. Okay, so you need to do a lot of configuration. Okay, we're gonna follow this one here. Okay, so you're gonna make sure that they started introducing this new command line. Okay, you have to install this one, install the command line so that you can run the command line. Okay, I already did that one. So what's that's gonna look like is that in the terminal, okay, so you're gonna run Firebase login. All right, so I think I already logged in, so they have all the information here. And then you are going to install this CLI. I don't know if I need it, but let me try that. Okay, look, just follow. It looks like we're good. And then we need to configure. This is very important. They call it Flutter Fire and then configure. I'll just do this one. Oh, they can't find Flutter Fire. And I thought I have the Flutter Fire. Oh, yeah, that's what we did. Let me see something is wrong here. Oh, I need to export a path. Okay. Mm, okay, so let me run this again. All right. So the Flutter Fire is a command line specifically for Flutter project. Here you're gonna choose the project. I think the project I just did is it's called Flutter AI stuff, I think. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, this one here. I'll select that one and just all of them. So they just help you to configure everything, make it easy. But the command line part is not easy. So you just need to install all of those. All right, so they just set up all the ID stuff. You don't need to worry about that and the permissions. Okay. So once you have all of those, okay, you're gonna install the dependencies and then configure that again, and then you can start to use the code to initialize that. Almost there. Okay, so now they set up this one for all the web, Android, all these different things. They can see the ID, the package name of your app, so they automatically register that in their Firebase settings. So if you want to go here, there's a setting and there's the integration. Yeah, right here. So they are setting up all of this. All right, so they got this one's ready. And that's where you see there is a file being created. Okay, that include all the key stuff. You don't have to touch this one. Sorry, automatically, installed. And then keep going with the guide. Okay, so you need to install their dependencies, their APIs. Okay, so again, you can just go with the command line. That's probably easier. Oh, so we need a higher version. Dart is the version. So our Dart is, yeah, I gotta use a new one. Okay, so let me, we shouldn't use that one. There's a new Flutter I installed. Okay, let me just directly run that one. Okay, so it's under the users. I think it's called downloads, and then Flutter. Yeah, yeah, that's the right command. Okay, so yeah, this is good. All right, so I installed one library. You see all the right line goes away, and they ask us to do this again. Do we need that? Let's see. No, I won't do that. I think we already done that. We don't need that. All right, so let's go to the main file and copy all this here. Yeah, we don't need this one anymore. So go to the main, add all the dependencies. So these are good. Just tell the Flutter app we're gonna use their Firebase functionalities. And there is this line that you often need to add. That's the initialization code. So when you get started, okay, you have to initialize that and then wait for this to be ready. So that will also turn this one into this one is a wait, right? So that means I think this one here, you also need to change that into a wait. All right. So we add a lot of things. Okay, let me stop. Normally, when you add a lot of dependency, we're gonna stop the app and rerun it again. Just make sure everything can be built correctly. All this process I showed you here, this you have to follow that very carefully. That's the only downside of Firebase I don't like very well because this part is a little bit over. It's not like some other services that you just put a URL, password, you can extend, just get one dependency. This one does a lot of things. However, if it works, it makes things very easy. Okay, you don't have to worry about the keys, ID stuff, all connected automatically. But everything is in terminal based, so just take some time here to set it up. All right, so it looks like everything is good. All right, so we are getting the same thing. Okay, so right now everything still works as normal. All right, so everything's connected. Okay, so we want to see how we are gonna read the data from Firebase. Okay, so everything is going to be in the Firestore. So if you go here, and you should be able to find some of the code. What I like to do also is to use AI to do it because this part here often is too much. Okay, so let me just go to AI. So now show me a hello world simple example on how to um, read the data from a collection in Flutter from Firebase uh, Firestore database. Keep the code simple and concise. All right. So you gotta make sure all the dependencies are there. So let's just check our dependencies and go up here. We got a Flutter, we got a Firebase core, the Firebase core. Okay, but we don't have a Cloud Firestore. We need to have this one. Okay, let's add this. All right. The version is not right, so we need to get a new version. So we need to look at what's the latest version of a cloud. Oh, sorry, the 12.9. This is very old. Okay. Try this one. Oh, 6. So 6.1.2. All right, so just some version issues. All right, get a dependency first. Then let's look at the code. This part we already have initialized the whole app with Firebase, and that's their demo. And this is where the code started to work. Okay, so firestore.instance.collection, and you got all the food information, and you get a reference. And then as you're trying to read, okay, you do something right here. Okay, so you do a reference dot snapshot, and then you're gonna build things, and then you get all the data here. All right, so this code is a little bit too much. So I would say that don't use builder. Just give me a single line on how to call uh like with a foods reference to fetch all the items. I want to show you the simplest one. Yeah, that's the type of thing I'm looking for. Okay, so you just say that reference dot get. Okay, and then based on what you got, you can see the results are stored in the documents, and from there you can then start to iterate on that. Okay, so it's not very difficult. So I'm trying to put everything together. Okay, so first of all, we need some kind of a dependency. Go back to the code here. Okay, so that I can use the Firestore. And very importantly, you need to create that little reference. Okay, that should be under here. Okay, so our reference here, let's see, the name of the collection is called Going back. It's called a food list. All right. So let's do some tests. So this one just basically give you a reference to that specific database and collection. Now, when I click on a button, right now I'm trying to use the food list right here. So, but let me do some tests first. So I will do a food reference. And then I think the method is something called a get. That's what they showed us in example. All right, you just get. And that get is going to return you the results. Okay. Now here I need to explain the code a little bit. So they use something called await. When you see await, that means that because when you try to read things from database, you talk to the server, that normally takes some time. There might be some latency delay. Maybe the server is not responding. Maybe the server takes longer than normal. It could be very fast millisecond. It could be a couple of seconds. So there will be a time that you have to wait. So you can choose to wait on this until the result come back, or you can also go with something called asynchronous. You can say just go, and whenever the result come back, let me know. Okay, so there's one of these two ways. Let me show you the better way is not to wait on this one. So I do get. I'll say like show me not using await, but use async. They do something called a then and catch error. So this is a good structure to use. Okay, so what you do is that you get, if you return, okay, and you're gonna give me this thing called a snapshot, and then you can attach a function. If you don't get things right, there's something wrong, you have something called error, and return me the error. Okay, so this structure in Flutter or in Dart, okay, is very you also see that very often. Using the reference, you call to get. If it's successful, you see the results here. If it's not successful, you see the error here. That's it. Okay. If it's successful, then let's actually print out the snapshot dot documents. That stores all the values. Okay. Otherwise, we'll call like a failed to get the results. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay. I'm going to rerun the app. All right. So this time I'm yeah, this time works. I think there's nothing wrong. Okay, it was just not. I think we are supposed to stop the app and rerun it to make sure all the things are taken, take effect. Okay, so it's not nothing wrong with the code. So here you can see it returns the different document as objects, and then we can then start to operate that objects. Okay, so let me show you example. So here, that's what you are printing, and then you can do a loop for each document in here. We should be able to, let me see, how do we do this? Okay. Yeah, you do data. That's where you can see the actual content. Okay, let me show you this. All right, so if I search, yeah, run this again. All right, so that's how you can see all the document at the data format, and from there you can insert it, right? So if you know how this one works, all we need to do is grab this part of the code. Okay. Let me do this. Okay, let's move the code right here. And this one goes here. And we don't need this anymore. And finally, we show the result here. All right. No, not here, but after this. Okay. So let me fix this. All right. So now we're in a different loop. We're iterating the results from the snapshot coming from Firebase. And we parse that. That's the document.data. All right, and that's the budgeted input. And this part we got to change. It should be coming from this. And that's it. And then the rest will be here. All right, so that should be it. Okay, so I search again. I do 5. Yeah, that got the results. And then I do 50. I got everything. To prove this is coming from the database, okay, we don't need this anymore. Okay, so I'll just comment this off. Okay, rerun this. Okay, try to do a 10. All right, and try to do 5. All right. So if we start to make changes, for example, Starbucks, they also bump up their price. Okay, so we'll go with like a 7. You update the value here, and you go back to the app. You search 5 again. There's nothing you can get. Okay, if you change it back to 3, right, and that comes back. All right, so everything can be managed here in the backend. All right, so that's basically how you can read and search